I feel like I'm going to change the tone here a little bit if I can, because I'm going to talk about leadership lessons on a specific topic of next level growth, which is a word that I unfortunately have not heard today. But I'm going to talk to you about growth in business. My company is Performance Institute, and my mission in life and our business's foundation are based upon a couple of principles. One that's most important is that we believe that in the unlimited potential of human beings. And our purpose is to maximize human performance with personal leadership, organizational leadership, and holistic health and wellness, and that's our focus. We believe that people have an unlimited capacity to make of themselves and thusly their organizations whatever they so choose, and that the only limitations on that opportunity are self-imposed based upon attitudes and habits and this sort of thing. I also truly believe that whatever that we can vividly imagine, that we truly ardently desire, and then we enthusiastically act upon, will inevitably come to be. And I believe that, which ties well to my first point. When I talk to people about growth, a lot of them don't understand the mechanics of that. Okay? There's a mechanical process. So everybody has a present, right? In every organization, that's where we are today. And everybody assuredly has some sort of future, right? And everything which lies between the present and the future, I refer to as process. Now that may be formal or informal. It may be effective or ineffective, right? It may be efficient or not, but it's a process. Now, just to make an example of that, this morning I got up at the same time that I always get up, pretty much, and I went to the shower as I always do, and the amount of time that I spend in the shower was the same amount of time that I always spend in the shower. I did exactly the same things that I always do. I did them in the same order. They took the same amount of time, right? This is my process, right? That's an example of a process. We all have them, and we all thusly go to work and do our process, right? And that's what Dave was talking about earlier. He was talking about examining process, examining marketing, examining prospecting, examining the way that you do business so that you can reach another level. So if we look at the process, then the effectiveness or the ineffectiveness, the efficiency of that process will determine your performance, and your performance will assuredly determine results and thusly the success or failure of your future. Everybody okay? Now that means you're responsible for that, which is a key thing. I made a joke earlier. I said a lot of my message is real similar to what Dave said earlier, but I'm a little more like Butch Lombardi than he is. I might throw it at you a little harder than he did, but it's the same kind of a message about accountability and some of these things we're going to talk about. Now, what happens though when people come to me with their business plans and people come and they say, well, what are we going to do? Typically, they bring me something that looks exactly like what they've done in the past, right? 90%, 95% of the business plans that I look at or the personal plans of action that I look at, they show me more of the same, right? Or maybe 11% more of whatever was the same last year is how we're going to achieve growth. But just as was said earlier, right? If we continue to do the same thing, we will continue to get what we've always got, right? And that untapped potential that I talked about earlier lies just beyond that comfort zone. And that's where we've got to get to. So I've got to teach you some processes by which you can reach your vast untapped potential. But the first thing we need to recognize, lesson one in leadership lessons, is doing more of the same will never get you to the next level. Okay? So if we want to do something tomorrow that we're not today, we must develop untapped potential. And development of untapped potential requires change. But change is really tough. Now, why is change tough? I'm holding in my hand a book. This book is called The Tripping Point in Leadership, Overcoming Organizational Apathy. it's written a little bit toward business leaders of big organizations. You guys are entrepreneurs like me. I'm not a doctorate. I don't sit in a university and ponder on this stuff. I live this stuff. I own multiple businesses. I own property. I own commercial property. I'm a business person just like you. So I don't prophesize about this stuff. One of my business partners that we work with very closely is Leadership Management International down in Waco, Texas. The president of that is a friend and mentor of mine, David Berg. David just wrote this book this summer, Overcoming Organizational Apathy. And he put an interesting definition in there of apathy. And what he did, most people think indifference when they think apathy. And he took it a little bit different because we're in the developmental business. But what he said was that apathy is a natural human instinct, common to us all, which encourages us to constantly seek a comfort zone in which nothing ever changes. All right, to track with that, this definition of apathy, it's a natural human instinct, just like gravity. You've got nothing to do with it, right? It's just natural to you. But it causes you to constantly seek a comfort zone in which nothing ever changes. Do you guys know anybody that's suffering from that state of apathy? Any of you ever suffered from that state of apathy? Not today, but ever. This is why change is hard. And one thing that is concerning to me is the fueling of apathy right now is all of this bad news. Because all of this bad news justifies apathy. It encourages you to say, well, I can't grow the business anyway. I might as well just sit back and hope I do as well as I did last year, right? That's very fueling to that apathy. If you remember Maslow's hierarchy, Maslow said as soon as your safety and security is threatened, you go back to the lowest levels of needs, right? So if our safety and security is threatened by the bad news, we go back to the lowest levels of needs, we protect ourselves, we're looking around and we're worried, we're protecting ourselves, right? And we're not concerned with higher levels of goals and business growth. We're just trying to hold on to what we got. And that fuels apathy. So that's a scary thing. So it's comfortable to stay as we are, but it won't get us to the next level. What we've got to do if we're going to go to the next level is we must make a conscious choice. There are only two options in planning for your future. You can choose to grow or you can choose to decline. There are only two options. Natural law dictates this. This again, like gravity, we have nothing to do with, right? Everything in nature is either growing or it's decaying. Nothing just stays the same. And the same is true of people, the same is true of organizations. But that apathy thing, it fuels this, it's another choice. People think there's another option, there's a middle ground that they can just wiggle through life, right? They think there's another option. They certainly don't raise their hand and say, I'm choosing to decline, right? They're not, I'm not doing that. But growth isn't an option either, that's scary. So I'm just gonna wiggle along. I'm gonna do what I did last year. Everything's gonna be okay, right? If we're gonna reach the next level of growth, it's necessary that we choose growth. Sometimes people want to argue with me on that. They say there are more than one option. You're welcome to do so. No? You're always welcome to. You can call shenanigans on me at any time. I can take it. Okay? I can handle what I can take. But if we're gonna choose growth, right, and you buy into that, you say, okay, I'm gonna choose growth, then David made a great point earlier. How you do that, what you must do, is you must then choose for yourself another thing. You use the word accountability, which is kind of a scary thing, right? But if we're developing the skills of growth,